Hello, let us discuss another topic today in this video, educational research and its types. There are many questions from this area. That essay question was like this: explain the meaning and purpose of educational research, discuss various types of educational research. First of all, let us define educational research. Educational research is a type of systematic investigation that applies empirical methods. Empirical method means first-hand knowledge. We are experiencing something. For solving challenges in education, it adopts rigorous and well-defined scientific processes in order to gather and analyze data for problem solving and knowledge advancement. So we can say that educational research is a systematic investigation in the field of education. In the field of education, maybe for knowledge advancement or increase the knowledge or in order to solve a problem, a pre-existing problem. Then, purpose or importance of educational research. Educational research plays a crucial role in knowledge advancement across different fields of study. Second one, it provides answers to practical educational challenges using scientific method. These are the purposes, or this way educational research help us. The third way the educational research help us, the findings from the educational research, especially the applied educational research, we can use in policy reformation or policy making in the field of education. The fourth point is that educational research improves the learning, knowledge, and skills and understanding of those parties involved in the study. Those researchers are involved in the study. In order to improve their skill and knowledge, the educational research helps them. Then fifth point, as you all know, we can make use of our research findings in the field of teaching and learning methodology, and as a result we can improve the teaching learning methodologies. Then sixth point, educational research helps students apply their knowledge in practical situation. Whenever they face a problem in their life, they can make use of their knowledge. In that way also educational research help the people. Now let us see what are the types of educational research. Based on the type of study, which type of study we are doing, which type of data we are collecting, which are the data collecting methods, based on that we can broadly divide educational research into two, that is quantitative and qualitative. In quantitative research method, we are collecting the quantitative data, and there in the case of qualitative research we are collecting the qualitative data. We are interpreting the data we are getting through different methods in the case of qualitative research. Then quantitative research is again we can say that it is based on positivist paradigm. And then what is positivist paradigm? Whatever we are observing here, we are just believing that. There are three types of quantitative research. They are experimental research, quasi-experimental research, and correlational research. In qualitative research, again we can divide into descriptive, ethnographic, and historic research. Under descriptive research, we can see many subdivisions, that is survey method, case study method, developmental studies, and documentary analysis. And under historic research, we can add philosophical research. Let us see all these subdivisions in detail. Experimental research. Experimental research adopt quantitative research method in order to determine the cause and effect relationship between the variable, in which way one variable affect the other variable. The cause and effect relationship between the variable is done in the case of experimental research. This research typically involve two groups, that is control group and the experimental group. Control group we are keeping as such, and on the experimental group the researcher is doing some manipulation. Then the researcher introduces some changes to the experimental group, such as changes to the environment, while the control group is left in its natural state. This change in the environment is called manipulation. That manipulation allows the researcher to determine the causative factor in the experiment. At the core of experimental research lies in the formulation of hypothesis. What is hypothesis? It is an intelligent or a shrewd guess or our inference. Before the experiment, we are keeping a hypothesis, and based on that, or in order to prove that hypothesis right or wrong, we are doing the experiment. Then, the overall research design relies on the statistical analysis to approve or disapprove this hypothesis. Let us see an example of experimental research. A study to observe the effect of physical exercise on the productivity level of the students. We know that whenever we are doing exercise, we get more energy and our health will improve, isn't it? So, in which way the physical exercise help in the productivity of children? That is an example for experimental research. Next one is quasi experimental research. Quasi literally means it is just we see it seems like experimental research, but it is not actually experimental research. Quasi literal meaning is seemingly but not reality. In real, it is not the pure experimental research, but it is a type of experimental research. Thus, the research studies that do not use a truly experimental design are called quasi-experimental studies. Since educational research is carried out on human beings who are changeable and control can't be exercised absolutely. We know that in the educational field we are doing experiment on students or teachers. All of them are human beings. So we cannot keep control to maximum level. We can keep control at a minimum level only on human being, so that we are usually using quasi experimental method in the field of social science. Therefore, much of the experimental research in education is quasi experimental in nature. This research investigates same issues that experimental research does, but the difference is only in terms of conducting the research. Which way we are conducting the research? What is the main difference? Here the control is minimum. Wherever we are in the experimental research, we are keeping a control group and an experimental group, and we are manipulating the experimental group. The control group, we are keeping it as a control, and there we are not doing any manipulation. But in the case of a human being, we know that in the field of education, we are mainly using quasi-experimental design. Next one is correlational research. So under quantitative, there are three. The third one is correlational research. As the name suggests, here we are checking the correlation between the variable. Which way variable X affect Y. So maybe we can say that whenever the one variable A increases, the other variable B also increases, then we can say that there is a positive correlation between these two variables. Whenever A increases, the B variable is decreases. So we can say that there is a negative correlation. One increases, the other one is decreases. So we can say there is a negative correlation. Sometimes there is no correlation at all. There is no correlation exists and null correlation. So that means if variable A increases or decreases, there is no change in variable B. This type of study is known as correlational research. So in the text it is given like correlational research can be of positive, negative and null. Next major division of research is qualitative research. Here the qualitative research is based on interpretivism paradigm. Why we can call it as an interpretivism paradigm? Here we are observing and we are collecting the data, and that data we are interpreting that data and we are writing the research report. So here we are following interpretivism paradigm. Descriptive research are different types, like survey study, case study and developmental study. Which is survey study? Whenever usually the descriptive research is doing the present study, that is what exists, what is happening at present. It is regarding the present situation. Okay, it is conducted on a large sample or large population, then we can call it as a survey study. Whenever we are doing a very detailed study of one participant or one sample from the entire population, then we can call it as a case study. Descriptive research may examine the various aspects of human development, such as intelligence, attitude, social and moral development, skills such as cognitive skills and social skills. That type of research is known as developmental study. So, descriptive research again we can divide into survey study, case study, and developmental study. In descriptive research, we are collecting the data through interview, observation, etc. Next one is documentary analysis studies. This one is also regarding the present study. We are analyzing a documents regarding the particular field. In the case of a school, there is value education, how the value education is going on, how the moral science education is going on. In order to understand that, we are analyzing the documents. Documents in the case may be the report card or the mark sheet or the exam papers of the students. All these we are doing it. It is known as documentary analysis. All these are part of descriptive research. Next one is ethnographic research. It is also coming under qualitative research. It is the naturalistic field studies. Ethnographic study, we are studying a culture. What are the traditions of a particular culture and what are their belief system? All this, that type of study is known as ethnographic study. Here usually in ethnographic study, we are using the participant interview. That means we are participating in their any festivals or in their daily routine, and then we are observing them or we are interviewing them as part of that crowd. That is ethnographic research. It is the naturalistic field study. It is just the opposite of experimental research. We can say that in experimental research, we are keeping an artificial setup, isn't it? So, there we are collecting the data by controlling or manipulating one group, and we are keeping the one group as such, and we are comparing the data later on, isn't it? But in the case of ethnographic study, we are collecting what is happening at present in a particular situation. It collects primary data, facts, they occur and interpret its meaning. Primary data means whenever we are participating in a cultural program or whatever tradition they have in their festival, and we get first-hand information, isn't it? What all things are happening, we can observe that and we will get that data. So that data we can call it as a primary data. Ethnographic studies use both participant observation and non-participant observation for collecting and recording primary data. Whenever we are collecting the data from someone else or someone else studies, then we can call it as a secondary data. Whenever we are collecting the data in the first place, it is called as primary data. Next is historic research. Historic research is concerned with the study of what was, what happened earlier. Why we are doing the historic studies? The historic studies help us to understand why something is happening presently. What is the consequence of that? In which way we can predict the future things? They try to determine and evaluate and understand past events for the purpose of gaining a clearer understanding of the present and the better prediction of the future. Historic research is obviously useful in understanding the trends and problems, the present trends or in the future trends. In order to understand that very clearly, the historic research help us. Historic research can also help us understand well-established educational system like the one we have in India. Earlier policies, earlier education commission, how that the trend was there earlier in the field of education or in the field of technology. All these things we can learn through historical research. Then another one, philosophical research. This philosophical research is also coming under historical research. It is the branch of historical research. Philosophical research usually deals with philosophical, metaphysical, and ontological aspects of education. What is the philosophical foundation of that particular policy of education, and what is the reality? Metaphysical means what is the real thing, what is the reality, and what is the value. All these things are coming under philosophical research. It involves careful definition of the terms and conditions. Here they are defining the terms very clearly. These are the important branches of educational research.